Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. This review contains spoilers. If you don't like spoilers, don't watch this review. Thank you kindly. Mosey along. I saw a showing of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince last night at my local movie theater. I went to the show. I had to wait in line for quite a while. Luckily, I was smart enough to show up about an hour and a half in advance, and I still wasn't the first person in line by any stretch of the imagination. There was people in front of me, some of whom were dressed up in costumes and had the Harry Potter glasses, and some people were wearing Hogwarts school uniforms and stuff. I used to have contempt for people like that, like, losers! Those people are losers! But then I realized I'm just jealous that I don't care about anything that much in my life. You know, I like cheeseburgers, but I'm not about to dress as the Hamburglar. So before I review this movie, you should know how I feel about Harry Potter in general. Now, I liked the books. I like them. I don't love them, I don't worship them, I don't think they're the greatest things ever written, but I do enjoy them. You know, they're well written, they're charming, they're witty. The plot's a little bit muddled here and there, but that's fine. But I don't have the same loving relationship to the films. I thought the first Harry Potter film was pretty bad, and that all of the ones after that were pretty mediocre. And that's kind of what I expected going into this film. Yet another mediocre, not so good, but not really bad Harry Potter movie. I mean, it took 6 films for them to get it right, but finally they did. This is the first Harry Potter movie that I would actually say is actively good. Not just mediocre, not just something that's there that you can waste a few hours with, and certainly nothing bad. It's actually pretty good. Now, I know this is going to piss Transformers fans off. There's certainly going to be some sort of testosterone-addled 14-year-old Transformers fanboy who will complain, "You didn't like Transformers, but you like gay-ass Harry Potter." Meh. The first thing you have to talk about with any movie is the performances. Now, Daniel Radcliffe plays Harry Potter just fine. You know, he's kind of a boring character compared to all the characters around him, but he plays it just right. Rupert Grint, who plays Ron Weasley, is getting really good, actually. I actually really like that kid. He does overact a bit, but he overacts in a very entertaining way. And plus he reminds me of my friend Cody Weber. He never did that before until last night when I was sitting in the movie theater and my brother tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "You know, the guy who plays Ron looks just like your friend Cody." I'm like, "No, he doesn't." "Yeah, he does." And Emma Watson as Hermione, she's a perfectly good actress, and she's frickin' hot now. Real show stealer in this movie, and I was surprised by this. And I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this guy's name right. I probably won't for it. If I don't, then don't rip my head off for it, please. But Sir Michael Gambon, I'm going to go with Gambon. Sir Michael Gambon as Dumbledore, who, when he first took over the role from Richard Harris after Richard Harris's death after the second film, I thought he was terrible. I thought Michael Gambon was fucking awful. I thought Michael Gambon sucked in that role. I was so disappointed with his portrayal. But in this movie, he is really the show stealer. And of course, Alan Rickman, always good as Snape. In the last film, Snape was like in the background like 3 or 4 times for like a second, and you're like, "Oh, Alan Rickman, Alan Rickman, Alan Rickman, Alan, where's he going? Where's he going? What? He doesn't have any dialogue? Where? What?" But in this movie, he has plenty of dialogue, and he delivers it so fantastically with all of these deliciously sinister pauses. The other performance I should mention before we move along is Jim Broadbent as Horace Slughorn. He was really excellent. He played the character pretty perfectly as a sort of slimy guy, but whose heart is in the right place, and it's a really hard balance to strike, and he struck it well, so he was good in that role. Now, the script was good, but I noticed that they cut out a lot of really good dialogue that was in the book. There was a scene in the movie between Helena Bonham Carter, I don't remember the name of her character, so very sorry, and Severus Snape, where she basically, you know, she taunts him a little, but in the book, she actually flat out interrogated him as to, if he was on the Dark Lord's side all along, then why did he help Harry Potter in the past, and why did he thwart Voldemort's return in the first book/movie, and so on and so forth. And he just gave this series of excellent answers, full of like smarminess and contempt, and it would have been really great to see that particular exchange in the movie, but they didn't have it, so whatever. They cut out a lot of good dialogue, I noticed, and replaced it with kind of more mediocre dialogue that just kind of served the purpose. But that's okay. It was still a reasonably well-written script. Like in any of these movies, they cut out tons of stuff from the books, but they have to, because otherwise the movie would be 6-7 hours long, and no one wants that, least of all myself. If you've never read the book, then you're not going to care, obviously, because you don't know what you're missing. Another thing I really liked about this movie is that it did not insult the audience constantly by pandering to stupid people. It didn't contain frequent explosions. It was a summer blockbuster, and it had CG effects and stuff in it, but they didn't overuse it. It was only ever used when necessary to convey a story point, and it was used well. The action in this movie was derived from character development, because all good action revolves around character development. If you don't care about the characters, then it doesn't matter how mind-bogglingly awesome the action scene is. That's the reason why the action is more engaging in a movie like No Country for Old Men, where the action pieces are rather primitive, than there is in something like Transformers, where the action pieces are rather elaborate, but you don't give a fuck about anyone on screen. In this movie, you do care about the outcome, you have some emotional investments in the characters, and so the action sequences play out well. And on a technical level, they're nothing exceptional, but because you're emotionally invested, they work really well. Another good thing about the movie is that it's actually funny. The jokes in most of the Harry Potter movies before this kind of fell flat for me. You really need humor in a movie like this, because if there's no humor, then it just turns into a drama with wizards. And, it loses its sense of the, summer fun where you're not supposed to think too hard about what's going on screen. This movie, it doesn't challenge you on an intellectual level, but it doesn't insult you on an intellectual level either. And that's kind of the perfect summer movie. You don't want something that you're going to have to go home and read Descartes to figure out, but you don't want something that's going to insult you and spit on your intelligence either. And this movie strikes that balance well. I was really impressed with this movie. It's not some kind of great masterpiece. It's never going to be thought of as like one of the great films of all time or anything, but it's perfectly serviceable, and it was a really good summer movie, and I enjoyed it immensely. That's all.